Cyclone MMA. What's going on, everybody? My name is Mason and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be giving my MMA hot takes because you guys just love it so much when I make controversial videos. You're always sure to like the video and give me awesome comments. So we're going to start off with Stipe Miocic. This dude is underrated AF. Stipe Miocic is the best MMA heavyweight of all time. He has 2 wins over DC. He has wins over Alistair Overeem, JDS. He derailed the Francis Ngannou hype train. And he's underrated, dude. He's like number 6 or something in the pound for pound rankings. He's doesn't get the love. People think he's boring, which I don't understand. His fighting style is so interesting. And on top of that, he is hilarious. Have you guys seen his interviews? They're so funny. And I know a lot of people, they don't give him enough credit for like his work behind the mic because he doesn't speak English well.
Keep doing what I'm doing. If it ain't fixed, don't broke it. Don't whatever. I'm tired right now.
Unfortunately, Stipe Miocic speaks English about as good as I. He speaks English worse than Davison Figueiredo, who doesn't even speak English. But Stipe's a firefighter. He's a wholesome dude. He's a nice guy, and I love him. So start giving Stipe some goddamn credit, people. Come on. This next one you're really not going to want to hear. Cross promotion is a bad idea for MMA. So MMA is it's starting to become more and more popular, right? And I think a lot of that has to do to, the UFC and Conor McGregor and the way UFC is able to make these stars and make them profitable. But if you have cross promotion, I think it's going to turn into a situation where you might open a door you don't want to. Let's say Bellator and UFC, they do a cross promotion, right? Let's say some Bellator champions beat some UFC champions. Now there's that doubt. Is UFC actually the premier organization? Do they actually have the best fighters? And I see it turning into this situation where it's like boxing, where you have so many different organizations that are all at the top level. And then you have champions who don't want to fight other champions. And it's just a bad idea. Like, I know monopolies aren't good. And I know that UFC technically isn't a monopoly. But let's just let them be big for the sake of the sport and growing it. That's my thoughts. I know like people who love, the smaller promotions are going to hate that idea, but I think that if we want to grow the sport and have it be big, like, NFL and NBA, I think we got to stick with just the UFC right now and just Bellator and not do any cross promotion stuff because I think it could hurt the sport. Let's wait a couple years and then maybe think about cross promotion in the future. But right now, I think it's too soon. I'm going to make some people upset with this next one, and I'm going to make some people happy with this next one, and that is Jon Jones is going to go on a losing streak very soon here. Jon Jones hasn't looked the same over his last couple fights. He seems to have lost a step. He does enough to get the win. A lot of people thought he lost that fight against Dominic Reyes. And let's play some MMA math, okay? And MMA math, it doesn't really mean shit, but I'm going to use it here. Dominic Reyes versus Francis Ngannou. Who do you think would win that fight? Probably Francis Ngannou, right? Dominic Reyes versus Stipe Miocic. Who do you think would win that fight? Stipe. Dominic Reyes versus Israel Adesanya. That one's a better matchup. Israel's a smaller guy, but you got Israel, who's like this crazy talent. He's just getting better and better. He absolutely destroyed Paulo Costa, and he's just looking really good. I would take Izzy in that fight. And now you got freaking Jon Jones, and he's going to fight one of those 3 guys next. He wants to move up to heavyweight or fight Izzy. So he's going to have to fight either Francis, Stipe, or Izzy. So he's going to have to fight Francis Ngannou, who's just like, knock you out, man. He just knocks dudes out, okay? Or he's going to have to fight Stipe Miocic, who he has a shot at beating. But Stipe's the greatest heavyweight MMA fighter of all time. So you have that. And then he's going to fight Izzy, who has all of this hype. He's starting to peak. He's looking really, really good. He has to fight a really, really good opponent next. And then after that, he's going to have to probably fight another really good opponent. I could see him going on a losing streak here. But that might just be me. What do you guys think about that? Interim belts are bullshit. Okay. I think that in the UFC, interim belts are kind of overused. I think the reason there's so many interim belts is because, the UFC doesn't want to have these pay-per-view events where they don't have belts on the line, so they have to either make up belts like the BMF, which I was okay with. I don't think we should overuse that, but the amount of interim belts seems pretty crazy. I know there's not a lot of interim champions right now, but just over the years, it seems like there have been like interim champions who don't even fight for the title. There have been interim champions who are stripped. It just seems like they have to put a title on the line to make money, which I don't think is the case anymore. You have enough stars at this point. But the interim belts, they have to go, or they have to do something different. I don't see an interim belt being the same as a championship belt. I don't know about you guys. I don't think interim belts should be gold. I saw this thing on Instagram. I wish I could find it and give credit to whoever came up with this idea, but why not make interim belts silver? That way you can have a distinction, because you have people running around with interim belts who never beat the champion. How can this be? This next one you guys really aren't going to like. MMA fans suck. Except for you guys. You guys are cool. You guys are cool. All the other MMA fans suck, though. It's just like, what a bunch of whiny people, you know? Listen, I like other sports, but when it comes to like whiny sports fans, MMA fans are by far the worst. I'm sorry, it's true. I saw this meme where they were like, MMA fans like complaining to Dana White, like, you got to pay your fighters. And then like you show them in a different slide and they're like asking for illegal streams to watch the fights. This is so true. I know a lot of you watching this video aren't paying for those pay-per-views. They are expensive, I know. You got to do what you got to do sometimes, but you got to support the sport. I had to put this one in there also after Tony Ferguson lost to Justin Gaethje. It seemed like Tony Ferguson had this huge fan base, right? Everyone loved him, loyal AF, so I thought. And then it seems like people started trashing on the dude after he lost to Justin Gaethje. Just come on, dude. Tony Ferguson's still a super talented fighter. He had a bad outing. You can't just hate on the guy because of it. But I see this a lot where, you know, you have these guys and everyone really, really enjoys them. And as soon as they lose, people just dip. And it's not cool. You gotta be loyal. Like you don't do that with sports teams. Like I'm a Yankees fan. They lost this year. I don't become a freaking, who won this year? I don't become a Dodgers fan just because they won the World Series. It's not how it works. You got to support your team. You got to support your fighters. My next hot take is Conor McGregor is not needed any longer by the UFC. Don't get me wrong. I think the UFC really, really wants to keep Conor McGregor around. Why wouldn't you? He is a huge global superstar. But we're at the point where we have these rising stars. You got Khamzat Chimaev, you got people like Joaquin Buckley who are just popping up out of nowheres and, you know, getting a lot of traction. You have, you know, you already have Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal and Israel Adesanya. You have a lot of stars, and it's just going to keep growing. I think the UFC is starting to outgrow Conor McGregor where they don't need him quite as much, so they have more leverage. That's just the way I see it. I don't have any numbers to back this up. I know Conor McGregor is still a huge draw, but I think a few years ago, it seemed like Conor McGregor had the UFC. I don't think that's a situation any longer. I think the UFC is starting to grow, starting to become more popular, and more stars are coming out of the woodworks. In fact, I'll go as far to say as Masvidal can be a bigger star than McGregor with a few more wins. We had, 2 pay-per-views between Masvidal and McGregor in 2020, and Masvidal versus Usman ended up doing better than McGregor versus Cowboy. Now, Usman versus Masvidal was a better card, but still, you have Masvidal as, the main star of that card, and you have McGregor as the main star of his card, and Masvidal ended up performing better in terms of pay-per-view buys. Now, Masvidal did lose that fight, which brings his stock down, but I still envision him being a big star in the sport. My final hot take isn't really a hot take, it's more of a PSA. We gotta stop overhyping people, because we have these people who, they have 1 or 2 impressive wins, and everyone loses their goddamn mind. You got Khamzat Chimaev. I know he's really talented. I know he fought twice in 10 days at Fight Island, and I know he smashed Gerald Meerschaert in the first punch he threw. But we gotta chill. He hasn't even fought a top 15 opponent yet. We don't know if he's legit yet. We don't know if he can manage to fight and beat guys like that. We'll know when he fights Leon Edwards. But I'm not talking about Khamzat Chimaev as much as I'm talking about Joaquin Buckley, who had one fight. He had that amazing spinning back kick knockout, which I'll admit is one of the coolest things I've seen in the sport of MMA. But now everyone's freaking out about this guy, and I know he had another win against Jordan Wright. But I don't know if Jordan Wright's even a top 25 guy. I don't think he is. We have to let these guys, grow a little bit. It's okay to be excited, but I had a comment on one of my videos talking about Joaquin Buckley, saying that he was going to fight for the title next, which, what? Not saying you can't support people who are, up and coming, but we got to pump the brakes a little bit, because Joaquin Buckley is very, very far, very far away from fighting for a title. All right, everyone, those are my MMA hot takes. If you have any hot takes, tell me about them in the comment section below. I want to hear some controversial ones. I want to see arguments and blood being spilled in the comment section. So be sure to, argue and be really toxic down below. Don't actually. Be nice. Be kind to one another. We don't need negativity in Cyclone MMA land, okay? Peace. Number 9, we got Khamzat Chimaev.
Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson.
Amanda. Duh.
Next, we got Artem Lobov. We're going to stick him right up at S tier. Just kidding.